The woman's face hit him like lightning. His ex-wife. The one he had expelled from his life when he decided that love was a risk to his ambition. The same woman who, years before, had tried to tell him something important. At the time, he didn't listen. Now he couldn't forget. If you like stories like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel. We post every day. Continuing, for years, Henry Thompson built his real estate development empire in London, with the same dedication he used to erect walls around his own heart. At 42, his name was among the most respected executives in the country, with a fortune few Britons would dream of achieving. From his triplex penthouse on Oxford Street, he observed the city like someone contemplating a chessboard where every move he made resulted in more zeros in his bank account. That Tuesday morning, the London sky dawned heavy. Henry adjusted his Italian tie in front of the mirror and examined his reflection with silent approval. The custom-made suit disguised the small signs that age was beginning to leave. He was in shape, maintaining a rigorous discipline in the private gym installed in his penthouse. The graying hair at his temples only added an air of experience that impressed in business meetings. "Sir, the car is waiting," announced Martha, the housekeeper who for 15 years had organized his domestic life with military precision. He responded with a nod, the only gesture he usually dedicated to his employees. He descended by the exclusive elevator to the garage, where Jonas, his driver, was already waiting with the Porsche door open. "Good morning, Doctor. We have a meeting in the City of London at 9. With today's traffic, I suggest we leave immediately. Let's go," was Henry's dry reply, already checking messages on his cell phone. The car advanced through the streets of London, a city that seemed too small for his ambitions. Henry had just closed the biggest deal of his career, a residential and business complex that would transform an entire area of West London. Foreign investors had finally signed the contract the night before, after a dinner filled with expensive wines and promises of stratospheric profits. It was a day to celebrate, but Henry didn't know how. He had no one to share the moment with. His relationships were limited to occasional encounters with women who stayed in his life for no more than a few weeks. Friends, only professional contacts who would disappear if his empire crumbled. Family. His parents had passed away years ago, and his only brother lived in Europe, distant not only geographically. Traffic intensified on Kensington High Street. An accident further ahead had turned the normally chaotic flow into complete paralysis. Henry snorted, impatient. "How long until we start moving again, Jonas?" "Hard to say, Doctor." The radio reported that a truck had overturned. It could take an hour or more. Henry leaned back in his seat, irritated. He considered calling to cancel the meeting, but it would be imprudent. The executives from the Chinese Development Company had come to the UK exclusively for this meeting. It was then that his disinterested gaze fell upon the scene that would change his life forever. Through the car window, in a small square between two commercial buildings, a woman of about 40 attended to customers at a time-worn churros cart. She wore a simple apron, her hair tied in a messy bun, and smiled mechanically as she packaged the sweets. Beside her, two identical boys, no more than 6 years old, played animatedly, running around the cart. One detail made his heart stop. Their eyes. The boys' eyes were exactly like his. "Stop the car," he ordered, suddenly. "Doctor, we're in the middle of—" "Stop now." Jonas pulled over to the shoulder as best he could. Henry lowered the window and looked more closely. The woman was now in profile, and recognition hit him like a punch to the stomach. Camilla. It was Camilla, his ex-wife. The woman he had expelled from his life 8 years earlier, when she had tried to interrupt his professional ascent with what he had called, at the time, sentimental melodramas. The last time he had seen her, she was desperately trying to say something important in his office reception, but he ordered the security guards to remove her. Camilla left in tears, swearing he would never hear from her again. Now he understood why. The boys, those boys were his sons. "Jonas, I'm getting out here. Cancel my appointments for the day." "But, Doctor, the Chinese, tell them I had a family emergency." The word family sounded strange on his lips. Family was a concept he had deliberately pushed away from his life, prioritizing professional success above any emotional bond. Henry got out of the car and walked to the corner, stopping at a safe distance. From there, he watched Camilla and the boys for almost an hour. He saw his own features in them, the shape of their faces, the way they frowned when concentrating, even the way they smiled, sideways, exactly as he did on the rare occasions he smiled. He didn't have the courage to approach. Instead, he returned to the car and ordered, "Take me home, Jonas." That night, for the first time in years, Henry couldn't sleep. The images of Camilla and the boys haunted him. How could he not know? How did he allow his pride to blind him to the point of missing the first 6 years of his children's lives? The truth was painful. He knew exactly how. His obsession with success had eliminated any room for feelings. The next morning, he called Richard, his private investigator, who usually conducted background checks on potential business partners. The mission now was different. "I need complete information on Camilla Norton. Address, financial situation, routine, everything." In 3 days, he had a complete dossier. Camilla lived in a small apartment in Islington, Twast, North London, with the twins Michael and Matthew. She had been working as a churros vendor for 4 years, after losing her job as a literature teacher at a private school. She had no family support. Her mother had passed away, and her father lived in the countryside, out of contact. Her income barely covered basic expenses. The boys attended public school, with a partial scholarship for after-school sports activities. Most surprisingly, Camilla had never filed for child support, paternity recognition, or any legal action against him. The information hit him hard. She preferred to fight alone rather than ask anything from the man who had humiliated her. In the following days, Henry began a routine he never would have imagined. He parked his car blocks away and observed the square where Camilla worked. He saw how she meticulously organized her small business, how she treated customers with kindness, even on rainy days when few showed up. He noticed the care with which she prepared snacks for the boys before they went to school, the affection in small gestures when she adjusted their clothes or combed their hair. He also observed the difficulties. The cart broke down one afternoon, and Camilla spent hours trying to fix the rusty metal structure. A customer complained about the change and publicly embarrassed her. One day, Michael had a coughing fit that left her visibly worried, but she couldn't close the business to take him to the doctor. Meanwhile, a transformation began to operate in Henry. For the first time in decades, someone other than himself occupied his thoughts. In meetings, he found himself distracted, imagining what it would be like to hear his children's voices calling him Dad. At night, he looked at his luxurious apartment and thought about how much empty space there was, space that could hold laughter, mess, life. After 2 weeks of silent observation, he gathered his courage. On a slow afternoon, he approached the churros cart and got in line. When it was his turn, Camilla looked up from the sweets she was packaging and froze. The churro she was holding fell onto the counter. "1 chocolate, please," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Camilla didn't answer immediately. Her eyes, which had once shone with love for him, now stared at him with a mixture of shock and distrust. "What do you want?" she finally asked, in a low voice so the boys, who were playing a few meters away, wouldn't hear. "To talk," Henry replied. 7 years to want to talk," she responded, regaining her composure and picking up a new churro. "Chocolate or dulce de leche?" "Chocolate." She prepared the order with mechanical movements, avoiding his gaze. When she handed him the package, he tried again. "Camilla, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Does it matter now?" she replied, taking the money without touching his hand. "Next, please." Henry stepped away, feeling the weight of the rejection he himself had taught her years before. He ate the churro sitting on a bench in the square, watching from afar the boys, his sons, running and laughing, oblivious to the emotional storm forming around them. In the following days, Henry did not return to the square. Instead, he began to act behind the scenes. Using his influence, he discovered that Camilla's health insurance was about to be cancelled due to non-payment. Anonymously, he settled the debt and renewed the coverage, including a package with specialized care for respiratory problems. He knew from the investigator that Michael had asthma. He also identified that the apartment where they lived had a severe leak that the landlord refused to fix. A call to an old construction client, and the problem was solved by the building management, without Camilla knowing the true origin. For the first time, Henry used his power and money not for his own benefit, but to care for other people, even if from a distance, even if in secret. In his office, employees noticed the change. The always demanding and distant boss now asked about their families, listened to suggestions in meetings, and even granted half-days on Fridays so everyone could have more time with their children, a benefit he himself had never valued before. One morning, a folder on his desk surprised him. It was a report about the public school where Michael and Matthew studied. The building needed urgent renovations, and the library had an outdated collection. Without thinking twice, he created an anonymous foundation to support municipal schools, starting with that one. At home, the businessman began to rummage through old albums, photos of his own childhood. He wanted to understand what his children had inherited from him besides their eyes. Long-forgotten memories surfaced. His father, a strict but present man, teaching him to ride a bicycle, his mother telling stories before bed. How could he have wasted the chance to create similar memories? 3 weeks after the encounter at the churros cart, Henry was reviewing contracts when his secretary announced, "Mr. Thompson, there's a lady named Camilla at reception. She insists on seeing you without an appointment." His heart pounded. "Send her in immediately." Camilla entered the office with firm steps. She was more dressed up than in the square, but her simple clothes contrasted with the luxurious decor. Without waiting for an invitation, she sat in the chair opposite his desk. "I know what you're doing," she said bluntly. "The health insurance, the school, the leak. Do you think I didn't notice?" Henry remained silent, surprised by her perceptiveness. "I don't want your charity," Camilla continued, "nor your money. If you're doing this out of guilt, you can stop." "It's not charity," he finally replied. "It's responsibility, something I should have taken on a long time ago." Camilla studied him for a moment, as if trying to see beyond the successful executive's facade. Why now? Why after so many years? "Because I saw them," Henry admitted. "I saw you, I saw the boys, and I finally understood what you were trying to tell me that day." Silence hung between them, laden with 7 years of absence, of mistaken choices, of a life that could have been different. "Do they know about me?" he asked, finally. "They know they have a father who is far away. They don't know who you are. They think you left before they were born." The words hurt more than any physical blow. "Don't try to buy forgiveness with money," she continued, standing up. "That's not what the boys need. Neither do I. Want to do something, earn it, with actions, not figures." Henry nodded, feeling the weight of that challenge. "I'm not asking to come back into your life," he said. "I just want a chance to get to know them, to be something to them." Camilla walked to the door, stopped, and without turning, replied, "Prove you've changed, not to me, to yourself." After Camilla's visit, Henry began an even deeper transformation. He reduced his working hours, delegated responsibilities he had previously concentrated on obsessively. He enrolled in a mentorship program for underprivileged youth, where he taught basic principles of administration and entrepreneurship. Discreetly, he began to frequent the same square where Camilla worked, not to watch her, but to create a constant presence. He would buy a churro, sit on a distant bench, read a book. The boys, curious like any child, began to notice him. One rainy afternoon, few customers appeared. Henry approached the cart with his umbrella. "Chocolate today?" Camilla asked, already accustomed to his silent presence. "Actually, I came to offer a ride. It's raining too much for you all to go back by bus." She hesitated, but looked at the boys who were huddled under the small cart canopy, already shivering from the cold. "Just a ride," she agreed, reluctantly. In the car, Matthew, the more talkative of the twins, broke the awkward silence. "You look like us." Henry swallowed hard, looking in the rearview mirror. "Do I? He's the churros man," Michael added, laughing. "You eat churros every day," Camilla intervened, changing the subject. But something had changed. A small crack in the wall. The following week, Michael had an asthma attack during Camilla's work shift. It was Henry, coincidentally present, who took him to the emergency room while she closed the cart. At the hospital, they stood side by side in the waiting room, sharing the silence and worry. feelings of a father and mother, even if they were no longer a couple. "He'll be fine," Henry said, trying to comfort her. "It's not the first time," Camilla replied, exhausted. "Working in that square, with the pollution, it doesn't help. But I need the money." Henry wanted to offer immediate financial solutions, but restrained himself. He finally understood what she meant about earning it, not buying it. The opportunity arose weeks later. An old warehouse from Henry's company was to be converted into a commercial space. He invited Camilla to see the location. "We're looking for small entrepreneurs to occupy the shops," he explained. "I thought maybe you'd want to expand your business, from a cart to your own shop. It's not charity, you'd pay rent, but with special conditions for a startup business." "Why would you do that?" she asked, suspicious. "Because you deserve a chance, and because I know you'll succeed. Your churros are really good," he added with a shy smile. For the first time in years, she smiled back. 2 months later, Camilla's Churros inaugurated in the new commercial center. The clean space, prime location, and quality products soon attracted a loyal clientele. Henry maintained a respectful distance, visiting occasionally as a customer, never as the property owner. It was Matthew who took the next step. During one of these visits, the boy approached with a drawing. "I made this at school," he said proudly. "It's Father's Day, but I don't have a dad, so I drew you, because you always come to see us and you look like us." Henry felt tears sting his eyes. He looked at Camilla, who watched the scene with an indefinable expression. "Thank you," he managed to say to the boy. "It's the most beautiful gift I've ever received." Days later, an envelope arrived at his office. Inside, a handwritten invitation. "Our class presentation, Father's Day. No signature, no request, just the location, date, and time." Henry arrived early at the school. He wore simple clothes, not his usual suit. He mingled with the other parents in the courtyard, feeling out of place and, at the same time, exactly where he should be. When the students went on stage to sing, his eyes immediately found Michael and Matthew. One of them waved discreetly, the other smiled. Henry reciprocated, his heart racing. After the presentation, the boys ran to him. "You came!" Michael exclaimed, hugging his legs. "Did you like our song?" Matthew asked. "It was the most beautiful I've ever heard," Henry replied, genuinely moved. Camilla approached slowly. Her gaze was different. There was no longer the harshness of their first encounters, just a serene caution. In her hands, she carried a warm churro, freshly made from the portable fryer she had brought to sell after the event. "Peace," she offered, extending the sweet to Henry. He took the churro with trembling hands. That simple word contained a universe of possibilities. Not a return to the past, but a new future, built on foundations more solid than money or professional success. "Peace," he agreed. There were no grand declarations or grandiose promises at that moment, just a silent understanding that the path would be long, but worth taking. In the following months, Henry learned that being a father was not an automatic right, but a daily conquest. Each smile from his children, each moment of growing trust was a small victory. Camilla, in turn, slowly allowed herself to lower the defenses built over years of solitary struggle. Time did not rewind, but it offered a new beginning. The true wealth Henry discovered was not in million-dollar contracts or the Businessman of the Year awards he accumulated. It was in a warm churro offered as a symbol of forgiveness, in the imperfect drawing made by small hands, in the gradual recognition that family was not an obstacle to success. It was its only true definition. And every day, leaving his office earlier to accompany his children to a football match or help them with their homework, Henry Thompson, the man who had built an empire, finally understood. The heart that learns to love is the only one that can truly consider itself rich,